The immigration backlogs always gives us a very important insight as to what is going on with the IRCC at this given point of time. The most recent data as of the 30th of April, which is about a month back, and as released today, says that IRCC has over 2 million applications in their inventory across different immigration lines. Of these applications, 1.2 million are within the service standards. Means, for example, if an express entry application takes about 6 months, then if there were these many applications, then they were within the service standard timelines. And the applications which exceed the service standard timelines, for example, again, an express entry, if it exceeds 6 months, then it goes in a backlog bucket, which at this point of time stands at about 760,000 applications across all immigration streams in IRCC. Let's break down these numbers. Of these, about 900,000 are temporary residence applications, of which 65% are within the standard processing times that you may be aware of. But more importantly, let's talk about the PR applications, because that is where we are most interested. At this point of time, there are nearly 880,000 PR applications that are in process with IRCC in their inventory, and about 56% of these are within the processing timelines, the regular timelines, but that would basically means 44% of these applications are outside the processing timelines or are now in the backlog. To break it down, about 489,000 applications will be processed in time or are being slated to process in time, but the others, around 391,000 applications, will obviously fall outside. But as much as we can talk about these application processing and the backlogs, etc., what is very interesting is that if IRCC has 880,000 applications in their inventory only for permanent residents, then if this is the very scary thought, but it's a scary thought, right? Just a thought. Hold on. So if IRCC is not going to conduct any draws, no PNP draws, no express entry draws, no family spousal immigration, nothing at all, then with these 880,000 applications that are in the process, they can actually meet their entire targets for 2025. Not only 2025, but also 2026. Because for 2025, our target is 395,000. And for 2026, the immigration target is 380,000. So between those two numbers, 880,000 applications that are in process should be enough to meet all those targets. And all this after understanding that IRCC has already accepted 132,000 people who have become permanent residents from January 1st until the 30th of April this year, which basically tells you that if they have already accomplished the target for first quarter, if you want to call it, then yeah, they are very much online to meet their targets for the entire year, which is 395,000, quite easily. That could also be one of the reasons why you are seeing delays in getting your Portal 1 requests or your Portal 2 requests, or in some cases, even after P1, P2, getting your ECOPRs, because they don't want to go ahead of their targets for Q2s and Q3s and Q4s, etc. And therefore, as scary as it might look like or as it might sound, in my opinion, the draws are not going anywhere. The draws will continue. I know, because every time when you say something like this, people start and say, so are you saying there will be no draws? No, I didn't say that, and neither am I implying that. On the contrary, what I'm trying to tell you that last year in August 2024, IRCC had 805,600 applications for permanent residents in their inventory. Did that stop them from conducting the draws, right? It didn't, right? They continued with their draws as they had to. So these inventory processing is always an ongoing number. At any point of time, they can't just completely stop, because if that was to happen, then they would have a lot of difficulty meeting their future targets. Now, in this PR processing inventory, there are gamut of applications. You have HNC applications, which take 3-4 years. You have startup visa applications, which can also take very long time. You have the economic pathways, you have the federal high skilled, you have your family sponsorship, you have the parents, grandparents, you have the AIPs and the RCIPs. So it's not only restricted to express entry, and it is not only restricted to the Canadian experience class. They all form part of the same family within the PR pot. Therefore, while these numbers do look scary, please do not start freaking out and start thinking that there will be no express entry draws, because this is not what these numbers imply. At this point of time, these numbers simply give you a snapshot of where IRCC is with their targets, with their immigration targets, as in they have now accomplished within the first quarter their 132,000 people for permanent residence, and as they trod along, they will obviously meet their targets of 395,000 for this year. The draws are not going anywhere, at least in my opinion. Why there hasn't been a draw? Now, from what I understand, and of course nobody is giving that kind of information out, but from what I understand, that the first draw that they conducted after they removed the job offer points was probably a test run. That is why you had a small sample size of 500 invitations, and something went wrong there, and that's the reason they are holding the draws back, because they still need to sort out these technical issues, because that is also the reason why we haven't had a PNP draw. There is something wrong with the system. Otherwise, there is no reason for them to hold back the PNP draws as well, right? Don't you think so? Anyways, for the time being, please note that there is a serious backlog going. This is probably the reason why your P1, P2s or COPRs are not coming out in time. And at this point of time, there is no indication that the draws will not continue. Another interesting analysis that has come out of these data points is that IRCC within the first 4 months made decisions on 156,000 PR applications, of which 132,000 people were welcomed as permanent residents. That tells you that the approval rates are roughly 84%. Similar number was also seen with the PR applications for the last year, where the approval rate was roughly 85.6%, which tells you that about 14% applications or 15% applications are refused or don't make it. When you are submitting your PR application, just make sure that you are part of the 85% and not part of that 15%.